The college gym buzzed with excitement as students strung fairy lights across the ceiling, preparing for the annual charity dance. Among the crowd, Ethan stood near the corner, clutching a folded invitation in his rough, calloused hands. At 21, he was known not for wealth or influence, but for his kindness and relentless work ethic. He worked nights at the campus cafeteria and spent his days juggling lectures and part-time tutoring just to afford rent. When he saw Lily for the first time, a graceful young nurse who volunteered at the campus clinic, his heart caught in his throat. She wasn't dressed like the other girls with designer bags or flashy jewelry. Instead, she wore simple scrubs, her brown hair tied into a loose ponytail, and her smile was the kind that made people forget their troubles. That smile gave him courage. For 3 days, Ethan rehearsed how he'd ask her to the dance. Every time he tried, his voice cracked, and his nerves got the best of him. Finally, on Friday afternoon, as she stepped out of the clinic with a clipboard in hand, he took a deep breath, walked up and said softly, "Would you maybe be my date to the dance?" For a moment, time stopped. Lily blinked, surprised, but then she smiled. That same warm, genuine smile that could melt fear itself. "I'd love to," she replied. Ethan's face lit up, unaware that the nurse he'd just asked out was not just any ordinary woman, but the daughter of one of the wealthiest CEOs in the country. That evening, Lily drove home through the city lights, the hum of her small silver car blending with the sound of rain against the windshield. Her apartment was nothing like the marble mansions her father owned. It was cozy, modest, filled with the scent of lavender candles and stacks of medical books. She had chosen to live away from her family's wealth, working as a nurse in a student clinic to understand real life beyond privilege. When she walked in, her phone buzzed. A message from her father's assistant. "Mr. Hayes wants you home this weekend, urgent." Lily sighed. Her father, Richard Hayes, the CEO of Hayes Biotech, was a man used to control, of markets, of people, even of her. He couldn't understand why his daughter wanted to live like an ordinary woman when she could have everything. At the family estate, crystal chandeliers glittered above marble floors as Richard waited in his study. When Lily entered, still wearing her scrubs, he frowned. "You look exhausted, sweetheart. Why won't you just come back home? You don't have to prove anything." Lily smiled softly, hiding her thoughts. "I just want to help people, Dad, that's all." He sighed, knowing it was pointless to argue. As she turned to leave, he added, "At least tell me you're not seeing anyone." Lily paused, her heart skipping a beat as she remembered Ethan's shy smile. "No, Dad," she lied gently. "Just busy with work." Little did she know, that single moment of hesitation would later unravel a secret that would shake both their worlds. The day of the dance arrived with golden sunlight spilling through Ethan's small dorm window. He had barely slept, nerves twisting in his stomach like tangled wires. His roommate Josh leaned against the bunk bed with a grin. "You're really nervous about this girl, huh? It's just a dance, man." Ethan smiled faintly, buttoning the only decent shirt he owned, a crisp white one he'd ironed 3 times. "Yeah, but she's different," he murmured, tightening his worn black tie in the cracked mirror. His shoes, though polished, still carried the scuffs of someone who worked too hard for too little. By evening, the gym had been transformed. Golden fairy lights, soft music, and the sweet scent of flowers everywhere. Students arrived in glittering gowns and pressed suits, but when Lily walked in, the room seemed to go silent. She wore a soft blue dress that shimmered like moonlight, her hair gently curled, her smile calm and kind. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. He walked toward her, unsure if he looked ridiculous next to her grace, but she met him halfway. "You look wonderful," she said sincerely. "So do you," he replied, his voice barely steady. As they danced, laughter and applause surrounded them. Yet for Ethan, the world had narrowed to just her eyes. Across the room, though, someone else was watching. A young man in an expensive suit snapping a photo with his phone. He smirked, typing a message. "Found her. The boss will want to see this." While the music played in the brightly lit gym, miles away in his glass-walled office overlooking the city, Richard Hayes sat behind his desk, signing contracts beneath the soft hum of fluorescent lights. His phone buzzed. He ignored it at first, until his assistant entered, hesitant. "Sir, you might want to see this." On the screen was a photo. his daughter Lily in a blue dress dancing with a young man who looked completely out of place among the wealthy college crowd. Richard's brow furrowed. "Who is he?" The assistant hesitated. "Ethan Miller, sir. Student at State University. Works 2 jobs, cafeteria and tutoring program. No background connections. No family wealth." Richard leaned back in his chair, expression unreadable. "So my daughter decided to spend her evening with a janitor." The words were cold, detached, yet beneath them flickered a trace of concern he wouldn't admit. "Get me everything about him," he ordered. The assistant nodded and left. Richard turned to the window, staring down at the city lights, his reflection merging with the skyline. He remembered his wife, gentle, kind, lost too soon, and the way she used to talk about humility. "Don't raise her in your world," she'd said once. "Let her see the real one." Maybe Lily had taken those words too seriously. He poured himself a drink, the ice clinking softly, unaware that his interference would soon bring 2 very different worlds crashing together, in a way none of them could control. The night air outside the gym was cool and crisp, carrying the faint scent of rain and roses from the garden nearby. Fairy lights glowed softly against the dark sky as Ethan and Lily stepped out, laughter echoing behind them. The dance had ended, but neither of them wanted the night to. "You know," Ethan said shyly, hands in his pockets, "I almost didn't ask you. I thought you'd say no." Lily looked at him, her eyes tender but thoughtful. "Why would I say no?" she asked. He shrugged, smiling awkwardly. "Because, well, you're amazing, and I'm just me." She laughed, a quiet musical sound that made his chest ache in the best way. "Ethan, you're kind, genuine, and brave. That's worth more than you think." For a few seconds, silence stretched between them, comfortable and fragile all at once. A gust of wind brushed her hair across her face, and without thinking, he reached up and tucked a strand behind her ear. Their eyes met, a spark of something real, something new. But before either could speak again, a black luxury car pulled up near the gate, headlights flashing. A man in a dark suit stepped out, scanning the area. Lily's face paled. "Lily Hayes?" The man called politely. Ethan frowned, confused. "Who's that?" She hesitated, forcing a smile. "No one important," she whispered, but her trembling hands betrayed her. The man approached with a nod. "Miss Hayes, your father sent me to pick you up." Ethan froze. "Father?" In that instant, everything around them seemed to stop. The music, the laughter, even the night breeze, as Lily's secret life began to unravel before his eyes. Ethan stood frozen, the words echoing in his mind like distant thunder. "Miss Hayes, your father sent me. It didn't make sense." Lily, the nurse who worked long shifts and packed her own lunches, the girl who listened to his stories about struggle without judgment, was from that Hayes family. He glanced at the sleek car, the driver holding the door open with professional patience. Lily's eyes darted between him and the car, guilt flickering across her face. "Ethan, I can explain," she began softly. He forced a small, nervous laugh. "Explain what?" "That you're rich? Like that kind of rich?" She took a step closer, her voice pleading. "I didn't want you to see me that way. I wanted to live simply, to know who people really are when money isn't part of it." Ethan ran a hand through his hair, looking away, the fairy lights reflecting in his eyes. "You could have just told me. Would you have asked me to the dance if you'd known?" she asked quietly. He didn't answer. The silence between them was heavier than words. The driver cleared his throat softly, glancing at his watch. Lily sighed and looked at Ethan one last time. "Please believe me. I meant every moment tonight." She turned and walked to the car, her dress catching the light as the door closed behind her. The car drove off into the dark street, leaving Ethan standing alone under the fading glow of the lights, a poor student staring after a world that suddenly felt impossibly far away.